nzuri, because that they should not be misused. Ndio wakija wapigwa na vijana yetu. Sasa rais akikunywa maziwa pale na watu yake ile inaitwa murusik, wanacheka ati wakikunywa wanapega.
The former deputy president also apologized for his not keeping his promise to announce the next political move, which was scheduled for yesterday, saying he will make a grand announcement in the coming week.
Kwa nimeahidi ya kwamba by January 31st nitakuwa nimesanya maoni ya watu wetu na vile wataniambia nitoe mwelekeo yetu ya kisiasa kuendelea mbele. Natoka kuomba msamaha, nimechelewa kidogo kwa sababu maoni imekuwa mengi sana, na nilikuwa nafikiria ni watu ya mlima peke yake watakuja, watu ya Masai wakakuja, watu ya Kisii wakakuja, watu ya kwa Nyanza wakakuja, watu ya Western wakakuja. Nikaona hatutaki tuwafungie nje. Ama mungetaka tuwafungie? So tukaona tuchukue maoni kwa kila mtu, na bado ninaendelea. Kwa hivyo nimechelewa kidogo, lakini tariki 9 Sunday coming ndio nitakuwa na nafasi nitoe ile interim report ya yale maoni nimepata, ile interim on Sunday jioni. Nitaongea kwa maredio zetu zote, ndio nimueleze vile watu wameniambia hii, wanataka tupange namna hii, nitoe interim report, alafu niendelee kusikiza maoni ya kila mtu. Si ni mzuri kusikiza maoni?
Well, the kind of political talk that has been going around in the country, and we'll definitely hear a lot of this until 2027. Let's hope that this time around we learn, so that after the election we stop this politicking and just focus on developing the country. Meanwhile, political leaders from Nandi County, allied to President William Ruto, have voiced strong criticism against former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, condemning his recent statement as divisive. The leaders, while speaking at different functions in the country, accused Gachagua of inciting the public and attempting to sow discord within the nation, terming his action and remarks as targeting to destabilize the country.
We as a nation cannot move forward if we are going to put ourselves in tribal cocoons. From Migori all the way to Wajir, we cannot have a country that we balkanize ourselves in politics of tribalism, ili hali wananchi ambao lazima tuwashughulikie ni wananchi ambao wameishi kwa pamoja.
Give an opportunity this government to deliver. You've been talking about SHA, of course confusing yourself, because SHA is going to succeed. All these programs, you are the one who was driving these agendas. So how come now when you have sent you to the village, the same agendas that you're driving becomes part of the enemy that you're creating? I would have wished that you would call upon the community that you keep addressing to support the government. When 2027 comes, bring us your candidates, because obviously you will not be able to vie, because of legally you will not participate in the elections, because we as parliament fired you, and we fired you for the rest of your life.
Tukipiga kelele bila kukaa chini, hatuwezi endelea mbele. Tunataka tujue ni nini itafanywa kampeni, ni nini itafanya Aldai, so that we address the issues. Hakuna ngine ni hii, na tu lazima tufanye na tuongoze, tuone njia ambayo tutafanya tujenge hii yetu.
Meanwhile, Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale has come out to the defense of the Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justine Muturi's bold stance in calling out the government over the alarming surge in mysterious abductions across the country. The legislator reaffirmed that the security and well-being of all Kenyans must remain a top priority, stressing and saying that no citizen should live in fear due to unresolved cases of enforced disappearances. Khalwale further urged authorities to take decisive action to address the growing concern and restore public confidence in the nation's security apparatus. He also issued a stern call to the Cabinet Secretary for Health and ICT, urging immediate intervention to resolve the persistent technical glitches affecting the SHA application system. He emphasized that these challenges have hindered the registration process, effectively locking out countless Kenyans from accessing essential healthcare services in government facilities.
William Ruto, mimi kama kiongozi katika taifa hii yetu ya Kenya, mwenye nilikupenda na ninakupenda, nilikutafutia kura, umenipatia majukumu, ninatekeleza. Ningependa nikuombe peupe kwamba kuna watu wenye wanataka kuchochea Mheshimiwa waziri wako Justin Muturi, mtoto yake alishikwa akapotea. Wewe kama mzazi, mtoto wako akishikwa mateka apotee, huwezi kuwa na furaha. Sasa Muturi amekasirika, anataka kujua ni nani alishika mtoto wake. Wengine wameanza kusema Muturi must resign, Muturi must be sacked. Shame on you. How do you sack a father kwa sababu he's concerned about abduction of his child? Ndio ningependa kumwambia President Ruto, usisikize wale ambao wanasema umwachishe Justin Muturi kazi kama waziri. Kitu ya maana yenye utafanya, ukubali kwamba ukiona watu wakiuliza maswali kuhusu abduction, sio kwamba wanasema serikali ndio inatenda hiyo. Wanasema wewe kama president, chukua jukumu kama president wetu, uhakikishe maneno ya abduction ifanye nini? Ishi. Naona vijana wadogo akina Kimani Ichung'wah, sijui nani, ndio wanaambia president ati mwaka petroli kwa moto, fukuza Justin Muturi. No, Muturi is speaking on behalf of millions of Kenyans wenye wanataka maneno ya abduction ikwishe. Waziri wa mambo ya afya aajibike. Ningependa waziri wa mambo ya ICT waajibike. We have registered our people, lakini wakienda na hii vitu ya SHA shift, hakuna service wanapata katika hospitali. Wamefanya kazi yao. Sasa nyinyi mawaziri wawili, you are now on notice. You must make sure that SHA shift zianze kufanya kazi.
Well, at the same time, leaders allied to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have castigated CS Environment Aden Duale over his criticism of the Public Service CS JB Muturi.
Comes to answering Biden Muturi, it should be Aden Duale. He has no moral authority to tell Justin Muturi to resign. That is to show that he does not understand the Constitution. Let him go and tell his boss, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, to consult the Constitution if they are man enough and do what they have been told to do. Lakini Aden Duale, you have no moral authority to tell Justin Muturi to resign because he's not going to resign.
Sisi tunaendelea kuambia serikali tumekataa vijana wetu kuuawa. Hivi karibuni kuna kijana wa huku kwetu pale Kiharu, Mogoiri Ward, mahali panaitwa Kiboi, kijana Dennis Mwangi ambaye amelelewa na nyanya yake, alipotea Disemba na mwili wake umepatikana kama umeuawa au kama ameuawa. Mimi nataka niambie Gen Z, nikimalizia ndio niite His Excellency. Gen Z, tuliona vile iliwauma mlipowaweka kwa majeneza mkaonyesha wamekufa. Sasa vile tumepata vijana wetu wengine wamepatikana wameuawa, dawa yao tunaijua. Wakiua tunawaweka kwenye jeneza. Inawauma, waache kuua vijana wetu.
Hii mdomo mingi wanarusha wakitumia maneno, kwani hawasomi katiba? Ndio wajue kuna venye president ameelekezwa afanye kama ametosheka na a certain cabinet secretary. So Duale, go to your boss, tell him to consult the Constitution. Na kama mumechoka na Biden, sisi watu wa Mount Kenya and especially the Ebians, tunahitaji huyu mwanaume ambaye alijitokeza kama Ligi G. So So Justin Muturi, Kogole, endelea tuusimamie na tusimamie wananchi.
Commission of Inquiry. Tutengeneze commission ya inquiry kuchunguza wale wanaua watoto wetu. Unachunguza nini? Si mnajua wauaji? Si mnawajua?
You know, Kenya is one of the most interesting nations in the world. Kenya Sihami. Now, there was drama in Uasin Gishu County as goons attempted to disrupt an event in front of dignitaries, including governors. Now, a fundraiser was held at Moisbridge Township for victims of a devastating fire that razed down property worth millions, and several dignitaries, including Kapsaret MP Oscar Sudi and Bomet Governor Professor Hilary Barchok, attended the fundraiser, which started off smoothly until Soe MP David Kiplagat arrived. The situation deteriorated further when tens of residents also stormed the podium where the political leaders were addressing them as the confrontation threatened to turn ugly.
Sisi wengine tulipita vitisho, sisi wengine tuliweka suluhu kwa sababu tunataka ukweli na haki ifanyike. Sasa wewe unakuja unatusi gavana, unatusi ule, unapanga ule. Wacha niwaulize swali lingine wananchi. Na mnijibu kwanza, vijana wako hapa. MCA wa hapa amemaliza kazi yake? Bado. Mjumbe mimi nimefanya 12 years, nimemaliza kazi yangu? Bado. Huyu Dika amemaliza kazi yake? Bado. So what? Bora unaje unasomea mwingine? Wewe unakuwa private ya mwingine na unafanya yako? Hii wasingizi sio ya mtu. Tutatembea.
Kazi yetu kama oversight. Saa zile gavana afanye kazi vizuri, si ati tunasema kwa ubaya, tunasema kwa ile jicho ambayo nimeona kama kiongozi ya Soi, hii haikufanywa vizuri. And that is why, wacha niseme initoke, sawa? Wacha niseme ifanye nini? Wacha niseme ifanye nini? That is more than 300 million that can assist these victims to build their businesses and to reconstruct their lives. Those are facts. Na ukitaka tukuwekea kwa mtandao, wenda soma PFM Act 2015 Section 11 mpaka Section 111 mpaka Section 112.
Nafasi ya saa zingine tunaona wajumbe wengine wanazomea magavana kama watoto. Sisi sio watoto wenu. Let us be serious. Let us work as a people. Na mahali kuna makosa tunakaa chini kama viongozi. Ama namna gani? Na hii sio mwisho ya shida, hii sio mwisho ya shida ingine. Ingine itapatikana. Na hata ikipatikana na iko katika mikono ya MP, governor atakuja asaidiana na yeye. So let us not be kama watu wale wanaitwa vultures. Unangojea shida ipatikane ndio ukuje ujaribu kuona ubavu wa kisiasa. Hiyo ni ujinga na isaidiki.
Niliwaambia sisi magavana ni watu ya kuchezewa na kutukaniwa kila siku. Sisi pia tulichaguliwa na wananchi. Na hii kazi tutamaliza. Mimi nikimaliza yangu mwingine akuja aendelee naye. So kwa sababu babana kuja kunipiga kelele hapo ovyo, wewe hata yomba hiyo kazi magavana.
Well, it's a very unfortunate that, you know, what politicians do, at least you can learn from what he was saying, that, you know, they pay one another 500 shillings to come and cause chaos. It's an archaic kind of thinking, mindset, that you pay people money to come and disrupt a meeting so that you can be seen to be, you know, the one with the, you know, the great kahuna. You're not the great kahuna. You're just an uncivilized human being who still thinks that he can force people to think in a certain way by beating them up. It's very unfortunate. Anyway, Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sepit has raised a red flag over the current ethnic rhetoric being conducted by political leaders in key regions of the country. The bishop warned that the heightened ethnic mobilization by other leaders, loaded with threats, was likely to jeopardize national cohesion and lead to chaos, as witnessed in the 2007-2008 period. Presiding over the retirement of Bishop Cleti Ogari Ogeto from ACK Upper Southern Nyanza Diocese at St. Philip's Church, Kisii Town, Ole Sapit observed that Kenyans were peace-loving people but were being set against each other. He also called on Kenyans to reject politicians bent on taking advantage of the country's ethnic diversity to create hostility among them for their selfish ends.
Kenyans have intermarried and they continue to intermarry. But the threat to cohesion in this country is in the rhetoric of our politicians who use tribal inclination and language to put Kenyans against each other and remind us that we are different tribes. And therefore, if Kenya is to be peaceful, let the political class now put off the rhetoric and the talk that we are using to mobilize Kenyans against each other on tribal lines. We are already beginning to see meetings of different in different regions, and the rhetoric in each region is to hit at the rhetoric of another region. This will not give Kenya peace, and if we continue this way, this will become a national security issue. To witness discovery of bodies of our children who have been abducted and killed, and we want to urge those who are in leadership of this country that the responsibility of securing the life of every Kenyan is in your hands. And it is perturbing to hear the police saying they are not involved and they don't know who is doing it. So ours is to urge them, if it is not the police doing it, let then the police tell us who is doing it, because we can't live in a nation where those who are entrusted with the lives of Kenyans as securing are telling us they don't know what's happening. Every one life lost is a loss not only to the family, a loss to Kenya, and particularly when it is our young people, because that's where our future resides, and that's where the future of this country is. And for us as a church, our prayers will continue to be to every Kenyan and every family that has lost. We stand with them, and we are asking God to prosper us. But we are also asking Kenyans to be patient with one another. Let us not listen to what politicians are telling us. Let us know that your neighbor is your neighbor, irrespective of the language they speak. They are still your neighbors. And for our young people who began a movement that is tribeless and classless, we want you to keep to the same. Refuse the tribal language and rhetoric.
Yeah, we only have one country and we have to do everything to protect it. So guard your mouth, politicians, as much. I know it's really difficult for politicians to keep their mouth shut and to guard it, but you really don't have to speak trash and incite the country so that you can gain votes. How many people have to die so that you can win? And probably you might do that and lose. But you've injured the country, and the country will never forget what you have done. So please keep your mouth shut. If you can't talk the right thing, just hush. Sit down, take a chill pill, go and get some milk and drink it. Na unyamaze. Meanwhile, groups that have been wreaking havoc in the country, abducting and killing Kenyans, have been told their time is up. Speaking during a Sunday service at the Blessed Hope Buruburu, Senior Pastor Reverend Felix Kavoi says only the church has the power to stop these heinous groups that have been causing sleepless nights and sorrow to many parents.
Malaika wa Bwana watokee hapo, sema watokee hapo, na kuwapiga makofi, wapigwe makofi na malaika. It is done. If we believe in the power of prayer, it is done. I thank God. I don't have to be a bishop to pray the prayer I have prayed. I don't have to be an apostle to pray the prayer I prayed. My prayer has reached God. From today, wherever they are, listen to the reports carefully and they start returning the report here on this altar. Kumeenda. Because kuanzia leo kumeanza kwenda. Hata kama walikuwa wanakunywa machai mahali, wametokewa. Hapo wanakunywia chai, wametokewa. Sababu say fire. Aya, kaeni chini. Kuna Mungu mbinguni, na ni lazima Mungu wetu aonekane katika hii nchi. Hii nchi haiwezekani watu kuanza vitu ni kana kwamba hakuna Mungu. The God I worship, the God who helped me to build a 150 million church without going to America or Europe, without sponsor or a white man, that God is alive. That God is alive. I say that God is alive. That God is alive. I say that God is alive. I say my God is a living God. I say my God is a living God. And they will know. Hallelujah. By Sunday, by the way, there will be a story. Go and wait. In Jesus' name. Begin Bwana Yesu makofi. Hallelujah.
Okie dokes, let's take a look at our newspapers, the headlines. We got the three key newspapers. We have the Daily Nation, the Star, and the Standard. We start off with the Daily Nation, and the headlines scream out abduction, the weak links. And it says police abuse of power remains a big challenge. And it also says as Kenya grapples with increased cases of enforced disappearances, it is emerging that lack of specific law to tackle the crime is worsening an already dire situation. The legal gap exists because Nairobi has yet to ratify the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances. And then we also have a sad story where a college student, her unborn child, was stabbed to death. That is so sad. Hospitals start denying teachers and police officers services over unremitted medical premiums. Sema kimeumana. Then the third page, Nairobi Funeral Home, a safe haven for rogue police officers. This is the Nairobi Funeral Home is basically a city mortuary, and unfortunately, when police do their bad manners, what they're doing now is they dump the bodies at the city mortuary, and they claim this guy was drowned or this guy was hit by a car, this guy was found, whatever. I mean, they just dump the bodies there, and you discover later on, you know, that these bodies were dumped by individuals not known, like the Mlolongo 4. I mean, immediately the same day that the Inspector General and the Director of Criminal Investigations appear in court, that same day the bodies of two of the individuals are discovered. Our God is still seated on the throne. Kenya has no law. Kitengela 3 claim their lives are in danger. And then we have, I will show you the work of DP's office, Kindiki Towns, Gashagwa. Okay. Then we have ODM plots to counter Ruto's offensive in Western region. Then you got the back page of the Nation. Manchester United lose at home as Mateta double earns Palace victory, while YDRC wants club to end visit and Visit Rwanda sponsorship. Okay. The Star newspaper, Uhuru era COVID mess could cost state 8 billion Kenya shillings. Vaccine supplier is demanding 8.4 billion, including for doses that were never delivered. What do you mean? The last time, I think when Mutahi Kagwe, the current CS for agriculture, was being interviewed, one of the things that he said was that even though the bill that appeared was humongous, most of the vaccines that we used were actually given to us free of charge. And he says, you know, some didn't even come because we had already sorted this mess out. I mean, COVID, we had already become resistant. Now, 8.4 billion for doses that were never even delivered. Hey, I think Kenya ina pesa mingi sana. Kenya approves release of wasp to kill pawpaw pests. Then, okay, this is an interesting thing. Besides the amount claimed on the doses, Kenyans also face an 89 million shilling interest claim annually for money that the Jubilee government committed to borrow but never withdrew from the lender. The Star newspaper, deal at stake, deal for who? Arsenal, PSG and Bayern urged to end their Visit Rwanda sponsorship because of the war that is currently going on in the DRC, sponsored by Rwanda. I mean, it doesn't matter what they say. This is a war that is sponsored by Rwanda and supported by Uganda. And it's the reason why they're doing this is rather obvious. It's because of the resources that is on the eastern part of the DRC. That's where a lot of these resources reside. And Kagame can say whatever he wants to say, but all he's saying is hot air. It's been proved that he's the one who's sponsoring the M23, and the intention is rather known. Killer squads are back. The Standard newspaper now says President William Ruto rode to power on the pledge that human rights and justice will be respected. However, 2 years down the line, the killing of abducted protesters shows that promise was merely words. Extrajudicial killings have returned, and in a puzzling manner. It's very sad. How do you take the life, how do you take the life of a human being? You kill, you torture this human being to a point whereby he stops breathing. Think about it. It's not a small matter. He stops breathing. And during this time, he's shouting, he's crying, begging that you stop doing what you're doing to him because of the pain. I heard one thing, a man who was, being harassed and tortured and really in pain. And this grown-up man started crying, calling his mom. You know how children cry when they cry, they're calling their mom? This man, tortured, was calling his mom. You go through all that process, all the cries that this man is making, pleading for his life, and you still kill him? There's something really wrong with you. You're not a human being. You're really not. KICD issues stern warning against illegal textbooks flooding schools. Dr. Agri Boys fires accident raises question. The school had experienced 2 fires before the students were sent home, while school administration blames KPLC for the fire. It emerged students had unresolved grievances with the administration. It is so easy to blame KPLC. Chaos as Kiplagat Sudi clash at fundraiser. And then you have Akila police squads back killing Echo. And you have the picture of the parents of one of the victims who basically lost his life. Well, the other thing is, will shrinking pay slips tip the scales in 2027 election? I can tell you something. The pay slips are going to be a major political campaign factor come 2027, because the more people are being taxed, the more the pay slip shrinks. Individuals are going to pay. People pay for their interests. And if you're taken away from them, when that time comes, anytime a man is struggling to take care of his family, whether rightly so or wrongly so, he will blame you for making him be at that position. And the first thing he will want to do is to get you out of that position so that you do not affect his ability to feed his family. It's a given survival mindset. That's what happens, and I know unless things change, that's exactly how it's going to play out come 2027. Well, unfortunately, my guest is not going to be able to make it, and so we're going to bring the curtains down on the show. Hapa. Sindio. Do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember, we got some interesting stuff lined up for you. Gatuzi is coming in at 11:30 while we put our magnifying glass on what is happening within the counties. And then at 2 p.m. we got the scoreboards. And they're going to be talking, I know, a lot about Manchester United losing. And you know how Arsenal and Crystal Palace, all these things, all the teams and how they performed. I have some boys in the studio, some of whom support Manchester United. I can see how sad they are. It is very sad. One of them is called Simon, and the other one is called Alex. Manchester United fans, I believe. And they're very sad. Every time I mention Manu, you can see how they look like people who've lost a general election. All right, with that, do have yourself a lovely day. God bless you.